Hello, everyone, and welcome to the National Cybersecurity Student Association's webcast series. Today's webcast is our COVID-19 perception student survey that was taken in the fall of 2020. So we administered a COVID-19 perception survey, and the purpose of the survey was to gain an understanding of how the current pandemic and the transition to distant learning has impacted the college student experience. Access to resources, and persistence. So the survey web link was distributed to NCSA members and students who has engaged in NCSA programming. The confidential survey was completed via SurveyMonkey by respondents currently enrolled in community colleges and universities. The survey findings provide a snapshot of the student level experience during COVID-19 related to student support, the academic learning environment, obstacles to success, and personal well-being. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Blake Urbach, Principal Consultant at Preferred Program Evaluations.
Thank you, Gus. Okay, as Gus mentioned, I am the Principal Consultant of an educational consulting firm, and I serve as the external evaluator for the National Cyber Watch Center. And so we elected sometime last fall to create a survey specifically for students and other participants of NCSA programming to look at how COVID-19 has impacted them in terms of accessing resources, their ability to persist in their studies, what type of supports they've received from their institution for remote learning, etc. So we designed this survey with input from the members of the National Cyber Watch Center and received approval from PGCC's Institutional Review Board. And the survey was created in the platform SurveyMonkey. And a web link to the survey was sent out to all current NCSA members and students who have engaged in NCSA programming along the way. And we had a small response rate here. We had 53 respondents, but we felt like it was enough to shed some light on what the students were experiencing, how they were dealing with the pandemic as it relates to their studies. So as you can see here from these first two images, we asked respondents to provide some basic demographic information. So 35% of the respondents were between 25 and 34 years of age. And a full 70% of the respondents were pursuing either an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree at the time they completed this survey, which would have been in fall of 2020. So we asked the students to respond to a number of questions. Most of them were close-ended. And so here in the small multiples, you can see how the respondents felt about certain things as it relates to COVID impacting their ability to complete their coursework, to access their materials, etc. 55% of respondents at the time of this survey, which would have been in spring 2020, noted that they were taking the majority of their courses online. 1/4 of the students were enrolled primarily in hybrid courses, and 21% were primarily enrolled in face-to-face courses. And so what you'll see throughout this results dashboard is that all in all, the students who were more familiar with the online environment and had previously taken online courses fared better than their face-to-face counterparts in terms of making this transition to remote learning. Students in face-to-face courses expressed a greater need for support to navigate their institution's online learning platform, access digital resources, and working remotely with their academic community. The good news is, at the time of this survey, over 80% of the students were confident that they would remain on track to continue their studies uninterrupted and graduate with their degree. You can see the students had some challenges in terms of concentrating. A lot of them had limited work opportunities to work sort of in quiet environments. Everyone was home, so they were sharing spaces. And some of them, and you'll see later on, had challenges in terms of their career plans because they were on a certain trajectory, and the pandemic tabled a lot of their activities in terms of what they were doing with work study and internships, etc. Okay, so this series of questions asks students about their perceptions of instructional support. And these are broken down by, again, the student's primary instructional modality. So you can see we have face-to-face as the top bar, hybrid is the middle, and online at the bottom. So on the left, 82% of respondents who were most recently enrolled in online courses agreed that the faculty and staff at their institution provided sufficient support to help with the transition to remote learning. So obviously the face-to-face students responded that they struggled with this more so than their counterparts in the hybrid model as well as the online modality. And 70% of respondents who were most recently enrolled in an online course agreed that the faculty and staff at their institution provided sufficient support about the potential impact of COVID-19 on their ability to pay for college. So this is everything from financial aid, student loans, scholarships, etc. Okay, these two questions ask about challenges to collaboration, again, by instructional modality. So 100% of respondents who were most recently enrolled in face-to-face courses agreed that the transition to remote learning made it challenging to collaborate with their peers. And as you can see, the online students fared a little better than their face-to-face and hybrid counterparts. To the right, 100% of respondents who were most recently enrolled in face-to-face courses agreed that the transition to remote learning made it challenging to collaborate with their professors. On the left, we have factors impacting coursework completion. And so this, for the most part, was open-ended, and then we were able to tally up the responses and create a visual. So when asked to share which factors have impacted their ability to complete their coursework, 30 of the 49 respondents, 61%, cited work obligations, and 20 respondents, 55%, cited family obligations. And you can see some of the other front runners there: limited student support services, financial resources, technological challenges in terms of limited bandwidth or Wi-Fi, limited tech, distractions, lack of space, etc. When asked to share which factor is having the greatest influence on whether or not they plan to continue their studies in fall 2020, 12 of the 30 respondents, 32%, cited financial considerations. Interestingly, 7 said none. So the pandemic really hadn't adversely impacted them, or not as far as their studies were concerned. So here we have most and least preferred online instructional methods, and you will see the top, the front runner there for both is the same. So 9 of the respondents most preferred discussion forums in terms of an online instructional modality, and conversely, 9 of the students noted that that was their least preferred instructional method. So certainly dependent on just the individual student and preference, probably comfort with the online environment and how they fared in terms of were they already familiar with the platform and the online modality, or were they making that shift sort of on the fly as campuses closed and they were required to start learning remotely, whether or not that was their preferred. Collaborative learning, video walkthroughs, and Zoom video chat on the left, you can see were also some of the preferred instructional methods. And back to the least on the right, some overlap there again. So being online, Zoom, pre-recorded lectures, breakout rooms, it just, again, depending on the student, as to whether or not they enjoyed these various modalities. Obstacles faced as a result of COVID-19, and there's some direct quotes there on the right, so in the student's own words. Job loss and pay cut and a change in living arrangements were the most frequently cited obstacles brought about by COVID-19. Respondents were also managing personal illness, death of a loved one, childcare responsibilities, and technology challenges. So we had one fully open-ended question at the end of the survey where we asked students to describe in their own words how the events surrounding COVID-19 have altered their career plans. So I'll give you a minute to read through these, but you'll see some overlap in terms of students seeking careers. Things were on hold in terms of the marketplace. They couldn't complete their internships as they intended. Hesitancy to work outside the home for their own safety or that of their family members. So clinging to perhaps a current position where they were working remotely. And here we have the second half of the responses. Students lost jobs, students had their hours cut, difficulty securing full-time employment. So definitely some common themes emerged here in terms of how the students were dealing with the pandemic and its altering their career plans, unattended, of course. So that's the end of the survey results dashboard. Gus, I'll turn it over to you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that the attendees may have.
Yeah, Blake, thank you for putting the presentation together and presenting this today. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you.